and we're live from Midrand at the Results Operations Center as we start to see those results coming in from those all-important elections that took place yesterday. I can't wait to see all the fingers that are posted on X at Newzroom 405. Show us how you voted and how you feel about your vote. Now, the IEC started counting ballots on Wednesday night as soon as polls closed in what is being described as South Africa's most important election since 1994. Now, voting was delayed in some parts of the country when polling stations opened late for various reasons. Now, queues of people snaking around blocks were seen across the country. The IEC has said the final results should be out by the weekend. Juniour brings us the latest from the ROC as well, as officials work to count millions of ballots with political parties standing by already. Juniour, hard to believe that the numbers have already come in, but we've only counted just under 50,000 of those millions of votes. But take me back to really the images that you saw yesterday and really what stands out as you visited the various parts of the city.
A good morning to you, Naledi, and a good morning to our viewers. It was a hive of activity yesterday as a lot of South Africans actually turned out in their numbers to cast their votes. This election has been described as the new 1994, and indeed South Africans lived up to that billing of these elections, and they turned out in their numbers in most of the places. Earlier in the morning, actually, in some voting stations where we visited, the voting was going smoothly. The numbers were not as much, but it was later towards the day where we started seeing those queues getting longer and longer, and the frustrations also in people's faces, you could tell, was growing as they were struggling to get to vote, to cast their votes. The main issue seems to have been the voter management devices. So this is a device that was introduced by the IEC to help in capturing the individuals that are coming in. Before these elections, there were those challenges of individuals voting in numerous places. So to cut that out, the IEC introduced the voter management device. This was meant to make the voting process smooth, but this time around, unfortunately, Naledi, it hindered some of the individuals from voting. The IEC, during a press briefing yesterday, indicated that individuals are supposed to be allowed to go in, whether these devices are on or offline. There should be a sheet where their names are. They should be checked out of that sheet, and then they can go in and vote. But it seems that this was not communicated fully to some of the officials that were assisting, the IEC staff that were assisting. There were over 220,000 IEC staff that were actually assisting with the voter process. So it seems like some of them didn't understand that if the voter management device was not working, they could have still allowed South Africans to go in. But when this was communicated at a later stage, the lines were already too long, and a lot of South Africans were already frustrated, Naledi. But now I'll just ask my colleague Uxolani just to show you that board where the numbers have started ticking in. In particular, when you focus on the Limpopo province, the numbers that have come in are very few. We see there on top the ANC with about 400 odd votes that have come in. The counting is still ongoing there. It shows that there was a delay in the closing of those voting stations. So the results coming in is also taking a long time. As you have rightly said, Naledi, only less than 1% of the vote has been counted so far.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues, of course, Juniour, is going to be the fact that this is certainly the challenges that were faced by the IEC in various voting stations, issues that have been raised by political parties, and one wonders if they're going to be taking that forward in any way. Of course, so we heard that the ANC certainly has raised issues around the new rules and the collapsing of scanners at various voting stations. I mean, you can't deny the fact that even in the run-up to this election, it has been one of the most litigious processes for the IEC.
Indeed, Naledi, there were 17 cases that were taken to court against the IEC, but the IEC actually won 13 of those, I think it was 14 of those cases. 3 of them are still outstanding. They were still expecting the courts to deliberate on those. But despite those challenges, the IEC's credibility is still intact. We heard yesterday one of the leaders of the AU Observer Mission, the former Nigerian President, Goodluck Jonathan, speaking about how the processes are, the democratic processes in South South Africa are way advanced as in comparison to some of the African countries. He spoke about the special vote dispensation that is allowed 2 days before the rest of the South Africans vote. He said that this is not present in most African countries. He also spoke about the votes abroad, allowing South Africans living abroad to cast their votes. This is not a dispensation that is afforded to some African countries. So despite the challenges that they faced, the IEC still receives a lot of praises. But you are right, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to the IEC staff member who leaked the list of the ANC and Umkhonto weSizwe when those lists were being compiled by the IEC. That's another challenge that comes to mind when thinking about some of the challenges that happened when it comes to the IEC. But despite this, another talking point, Naledi, when it comes to these elections are the new parties. I'm going to step out of camera again and allow my colleague Xolani Ndlovu to just show you the national ballot. One party that I would like him to focus on is the MK party. As we see there, for now, I think it is the fourth largest in terms of the numbers that have received. Yes, it's only less than 1% that has been cast, but already the party is sitting at 2,387 votes. For a party that was established, Naledi, less than 8 months ago, it was registered with the IEC in July by Jabulani Khumalo, and then it was endorsed by the former president Jacob Zuma in December. So it's been 5 months in the making, we can say. It's doing fairly well right now in these elections. I've seen some of the elections, some of the numbers coming in particular from KZN. Umkhonto weSizwe has either been the party that won in those voting stations, or it has come second. But I also was surprised by the numbers when I saw them coming in, especially from the Eastern Cape. It seems like the party is also doing well in the Eastern Cape. We are aware that in Mpumalanga it has been doing well. They've held rallies in Mpumalanga, they've held rallies in KwaZulu-Natal, and even in Gauteng as well. But I wasn't so sure about the Eastern Cape. But seeing those numbers, it seems like this new party that was formed by the former president Jacob Zuma has been doing well. But the ANC has been arguing actually that it is using the history of Umkhonto weSizwe, which they claim, according to the ANC, is the history of the ANC. So this is why they claim the party is doing well. We know that COPE, when it was formed as well, it also did well, fairly well. So all of these parties that are a branch away from the ANC, when it comes to COPE, when it comes to the EFF, and now the MK party, they seem to really do really well in these elections, Naledi.
Yeah, nationally they're sitting at 5% of that vote, that being the MK party, just above the Patriotic Alliance that is now sitting at 4%. And again, we have to remind you that we've only counted just about 1% of those votes that came in yesterday, and the counting is going to continue all the way into the weekend. So it's going to be a busy few days.